Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video I'm going to do some writing myself. I'm going to do some IELTS writing task 1. We've had a lot of IELTS writing task 2 on this channel, so much focus on it. All the candidates sent me writing task 2, writing task 2. I think in the next week or two I'm going to ask only for IELTS writing task 1s just to see how people are with them. But before that I thought I would just do my own one. So why not? Instead of talking about it, let's just do it. I'm not going to try to write a band 9. I think band 9 for most people is unachievable. You know, there are there's an obsession with this band 9, band 9, band 9. Can I write a band 9? Yes. Will you learn a lot if I write in, I don't know, maybe. I think for most, if you're a solid B2 student, right, if you're really solid B2, I think you can aim for that band 7 in IELTS writing using, nice, simple, clear, easy to understand language. Of course, we want C1s to get C1 and we want B2s to get B2, but yeah, I would say if you are a strong, solid B2, there's no reason why you can't, with the right technique, get a band 7 in your writing. So let's have a look at our task for today. So this stuff is always original, right? The graph and chart below give information about 3D cinema screens and film releases. Cool. This part doesn't change. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So make comparisons where relevant. They put that in because, sometimes in part 1 you have like a process chart and you can't really make comparisons in that process chart. But if you have bars and charts, sometimes you can make comparisons. And here, just looking at it without looking at any details, I can see, the line graph starts slow and then grows fast. The bar chart starts slow and grows fast. So immediately I can see that there is scope for comparisons. Still, let's read this again. The graph and chart below give information about 3D cinema screens. Ugh, don't like this topic. 3D cinema screens and film releases. Okay, what are these things? You don't even have to know what they are, but let's try to get some context here. Global digital 3D screen. So global in the world, digital 3D screen. So we know screens are those things on your phone, right? Screen, on your monitor, on your TV, but also at the cinema, you have the projector, and the projector, shines the light on the screen. I'm not a technical expert with cinema technology, but I don't have to be. So some of these new screens, I guess they're called 3D screens. I guess this is a new technology that came in about 2005. Cool. And then global 3D cinema releases. So it makes sense, right? If you have 3D screens, you should have movies that are released especially for those screens. And so it kind of makes sense that the numbers, as the screens increase, the number of movies for those screens also increases. The number increases. Sorry. Okay. So, just looking at this, anything strange? So starts at 0, 10,000. Okay, going up in the thousands, going up in the tens. Also, there is the second bar. This bar chart is divided into two things: live action movies and animation movies. Okay, I can see a key feature there. Cool. Anything else to notice? Yeah, something strange. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A 7-year period here, finishing in 2011. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. An 8-year period here, finishing in 2012, which is kind of odd. That's a key feature. The similarity. The symbiotic relationship, the parallel relationship, the correlation. That's the word I'm looking for. The correlation between screens and releases. That's going to be one key feature. There's interesting a difference here of how In 2011, this number kind of becomes flat, or it looks like it's evening out or plateauing. Whereas 2012, we see a huge boom in cinema releases. So that's what we call like a decoupling, or at least where one thing changes one way and the other thing changes the other way. But for me, that's not enough of a key feature. So the one key feature will be the similarity and growth between the two things. The other key feature, I think, will be animation versus live action, because again, we can see animation at the beginning, live action comes in. Animation, there are more animation movies at first, still here they reach about equal, then live action takes over, and then by the end of the period there are so many more live action releases than there are animation releases. So that will be my second key feature, I think. But if you don't know the structure of an IELTS writing task 1, there are two common structures. Normally the textbooks, like the Cambridge books, things like this, Complete IELTS, they usually go with a 3-paragraph structure in their model essays. So they have like introduction, overview of key feature 1 and details, and then overview of key feature 2 and details. I noticed the online experts, people like IELTS Liz, they favor a 4-paragraph structure. I think both are absolutely fine. I'm going to go with the 4-paragraph structure because it's probably the one that most people are familiar with. But 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, both of those work. We do need an overview in there. And I think that's why the online gurus, IELTS Liz is great, by the way. If you haven't heard of IELTS Liz, check out IELTS Liz. Where have you been? There's lots of stuff. Mostly on my channel, I just let students know, where their writing is and where their speaking is. I do a little bit of, a few videos like this, like tutorials of how I write things. But I don't do a lot of like teaching on this channel. If you want those resources, IELTS Liz is great. You certainly don't need to buy a fake course from fake experts on YouTube. There's lots of good free stuff out there. Anyway, okay. So this is our 4-body paragraph structure. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. Just going to take a sip of tea, sorry. So in my introduction, paragraph 1 is going to be an intro, and I'm just going to have a hard, direct paraphrase of this. I'm limited to 150 words here. I'll probably go to 160, 170. I don't have much time to play with, so a quick, easy paraphrase of this information will be fine. Already I'm looking at that word global and thinking I'll change it to like in the world. Okay, cool. Give information about, just show, fine. Graph and chart below. Okay, infographics. I think that's, I already have my paraphrase. Great. But I'll show you that in a moment. So intro is just going to be a direct paraphrase of the question. I don't need to say in this essay I'm going to. This isn't even an essay, so we don't need to worry about that. Yeah, paragraph 2. This is going to be my overview of key F1, KF1, and KF2. Key feature 1, key feature 2. So I'm going to say what the main takeaways, the main ideas from these charts are. And I'm going to just write those. Similarities in growth, and also live action. Let's just say LA versus A. Live action versus animation. Those are my 2 key features. And I'm going to just give an overview in very simple words what those things, what the charts represent about those 2 things. Cool. Paragraph 3 is going to be details of key feature 1. And amazingly, paragraph 4 is going to be details of key feature 2. Now, in IELTS writing task 1, you do not need to speculate. You do not need to make predictions about how things might change. You don't need to give your own opinion about the reasons why this happens, or whether this is a good thing or whether this is a bad thing, or you don't need to add any comments at all. We're just trying to put into words what these charts are. Imagine a blind person can't see the charts and says, what do you see in the charts? We want to, put into words what we see in the charts. Cool. All right, so let's get into this. Paragraph 1, I said I'm going to use a direct paraphrase, and so I'm just going to copy this part here. Just going to copy that, put it down here, and I'm going to directly paraphrase the graph and chart. Let's take off the bold and underline. The infographics, they are infographics, aren't they? Pictures that show information. I guess they are. The infographics show the number of 3D cinema screens and film releases. Do I need to change this? Cinema screens, I don't need to change that. Film releases, I don't think I need to change that. I think they have topical importance that we don't need to paraphrase that, but I will change globally. 3D cinema screens and film releases in the world over a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 over a 7 and 8. Okay, I'm going to try and be simple with my language here. I'm really going to try to use language that, a B2 student might find. So infographics doesn't work here, right? B2 student isn't going to find that. So let's just use graph and chart then. The graph and chart show the number of 3D cinema screens and film releases in the world. So I'm not going to be super detailed here, between 2005 and I'm going to go with the last period, 2012. We don't get details about 2012 with the last one, but between the two, we do get this period. Film releases in the world between 2005 and 2012. The film releases chart is, again, I want to use is divided into two parts, or the film releases chart gives information. We've had gives information, displays. That B2 is not going to find displays, so I'm going to think about some simple language. Has information about both animations and live action movies, live action films. Okay, I think a B2 can find all of this, right? The graph and chart show the number of, maybe how many? Well, the number of 3D cinema screens and film releases in the world between 2005 and 2012. The film releases chart has information about both animations and live action films. Cool. We're done with our introduction. And I think a solid B2 can find this language. Okay, last sip of tea. Overview. Now, I don't need any introductory statement to say there are two overviews, there are two clear details in here. I can just go straight into it. So, the first overview is the similarities in growth between these two things. So both 3D screens, not both. Yeah, both 3D screens and releases started the period with very low numbers, but started to increase very quickly after 2009. I don't want to be too detailed here. This is an overview, but started to increase very quickly in the middle of this period. Cool, that's key feature 1 done. Second key feature I've mentioned is live action versus animation. The first releases, first 3D films were only animations, but by the end of the period, there were a lot more live action films. Again, I'm trying to keep language very, very simple. If you think like, what is this? What is this simple language? I'm trying to aim for band 7, and I'm trying to get my band 7 through writing nice, clear, accurate, informative writing. Let's just check this. Both 3D screens and releases started the period with very low numbers, but started to increase very quickly in the middle of this period. The first 3D films were only animations, but by the end of the period, there were a lot more live action films. Cool, that's a clear overview. So now I want to go into details of key feature 1. Details, statistical details. Okay. Let's start with global digital TV screens. The first digital, the first 3D screen appeared between 2005 and 2006. I don't know exactly what that number is there. I mean, it's about 2, isn't it? Oh, that's the number of films, sorry, releases. I need to look more closely. Can't quite make that out. About 2,000 there. And I think it's still under 3,000 there, or approximately 3,000. The first 3D screen appeared between, let's say screens, appeared between 2005 and 2006, and there were still only about is not great in academic writing, but approximately is probably better, still only about 3,000 in 2009. 2008, sorry, in 2008. However, the number increased to 10,000 by the end, or let's just say in 2009, and reached a peak. Can you find this, B2? Strong B2 who's well prepared, can you find words like reach a peak or top out or something like this? And increased and reached a peak of, what is that? Just under 40,000. 40,000 in, again, you could use by the end of the period, but I'm just going to keep it simple, in 2011. Okay. The rise of releases was very similar. I could say followed a similar pattern, but again, I'm trying to keep it simple. The rise of releases was very similar. And again, details. There were only about 5 releases in 2008. But that number jumped to about 38. Jumped to 37 to 38, or let's say just under 40 then, jump to just under 40 by, what year is that? 2010, and reached more than 70. It's very mechanical, isn't it? This explanation of the data in 2012, but it is comparative, right? So let's have a look at this. The first 3D screens appeared between 2005 and 2006, and there were still only about 3,000 in 2008. However, the number increased. So I am showing this trend, this increased to 10,000 in 2009 and reached a peak of just under 40,000 in 2011. Again, if I was writing it for a band 9, I would use more language connected to trends like rise sharply or something like this. The rise of releases was very similar. I'm showing the comparison here. There were only about 5 releases in 2008, but that number jumped to just under 40 by 2010, and reached more than 70 in 2012. So the relaying of information is a little bit mechanical, but like I say, I'm only aiming for that band 7. So how many words do we have here? I would guess this is about 100 words already. 110 maybe? 149. Wow. Okay, I'm a little bit worried. That's a lot more than I expected. Maybe I'll cut out this part. Do I need to include that in my introduction? I don't think I do. So what are we at now? 137. Okay, that's fine. I can work with that, right? If I have 190 words, I'll be okay with that. So key feature 2. We know our key feature 2 is live action versus animation. The first 3D releases were animated films, and the first live action 3D film appeared in 2008. I want to try to get somewhere in there that there were more animated films than live action. Okay. Live action after that. Live action films started to dominate. Can you find that, my dear B2? Can you find that word dominate? After that, live action films started to dominate. And by the end of the period in 2012, okay, let's do some counting. 20. It's about 24, is it, to about 50? So it's about double. Okay, B2, can you find this twice as many? Double the number of. Twice as many. Can you find that? And by the end of the period in 2012, there were twice. Let's change it there. There were about 50 live action releases. Oh, okay. Maybe B2 isn't finding that. Doubling the number of animations. Cool. Okay, that may be a key feature. The last one is a little bit short, but I am worried about my word count. Okay, 180 words for me, golden zone. 180 words in task 1 is the golden zone. Yeah, I'm there. Great. This paragraph maybe is just a little long. So, of course, like all good IELTS writers, I'm going to check my work and make sure that there aren't mistakes, make sure that everything is clear. If I can reduce this paragraph a little, I will. Let's start this editing process. The graph and chart show the number of 3D cinema screens and film releases in the world between 2005 and 2012. Okay, fine. Both 3D screens and releases started the period with very low numbers, but started to increase very quickly in the middle of this period. The first 3D films were only animations. Let's have a little additionally. No, do we want additionally? Yeah, I just want to just to show that this is disconnected from the previous point. Just to show that this is, sorry. Additionally, yeah, to show it's one more point. I think I need that additionally. The first 3D films were only animations, but by the end of the period, there were a lot more live action films. Cool. So that's the overview done. The first 3D screens appeared between 2005 and 2006. Do I need that? I don't think I did. I don't think I do. I'm going to remove that. It's not important when they came into existence. In the first in the first 2 years, 2 or 3 years, 3 years, in the first 3 years of the period, there were just just one. I don't know exactly what that number is. I can't quite make it out. I don't know if it's 1 or 2. So I'm going to change my wording here. The growth of, does the B2 know growth? The growth of 3D screens started slowly, and now I've made it a little bit shorter, haven't I? The growth of 3D screens started slowly, comma, and there was still only about 3,000. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong chart again. I need to be looking here. It's been a long day. The growth of 3D screens started slowly, and there were still only about 3,000 in 2008. Okay, that's fine. That is true. That is true. However, comma, the number increased to 10,000 in 2009 and reached a peak of just under 40,000 in 2011. Yes, the rise of releases was very similar. Cool, that's our comparison. There were only about 5 releases in 2008, but that number jumped to just under 40 by 2010 and reached more than... Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to shorten it. That's fine. The first 3D releases were animated films, and the first live-action 3D film appeared in 2008. After that, live-action films started to dominate, and by the end of the period, in 2012, there were about 50 live-action releases, doubling the number of animations. So that's really the only bit of language that I think, well, there are 2 bits of language that maybe a B2 won't be able to get. Doubling the number of animations, probably won't be able to get that. Reached a peak of, maybe a B2 won't quite get that. The rest of it, I really think a strong B2 should be able to find all of this other language, only 2 bits of language. Now, for me, this writing, if I got this writing, I would award it probably a band 8. The vocab maybe isn't quite at band 9. Grammar is very well controlled and appropriate. I think the grammar might be band 9. The task achievement is band 9 for me. Coherence and cohesion, maybe it could be, maybe this paragraph is just slightly mechanical, slightly, so maybe a band 8. So yeah, maybe 8.5 for this piece of writing. Maybe, I don't know. I could put it into ChatGPT, I guess, and see what it says, but ChatGPT can't read the charts, and also ChatGPT isn't very good at evaluating. Yeah, so there you go. There's my piece of writing, IELTS writing, task 1, written in very, very simple language, but still capable of getting that band 7, 7.5, even maybe band 8, just by focusing on being clear and being simple with our language, and knowing how to select key features. All right. So, yeah, let's go back to the main screen. Oh, it's become quite dark. So I hope you enjoyed this writing. Sorry. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this IELTS writing task 1. If you have any requests, I have said this, if you come across any very, very difficult pieces of writing and you're really not sure how to approach it, get in touch, send me the writing. I like doing these writing videos. It makes a change from checking other people's writing, and sometimes, these type of videos can be instructive and useful for you dear candidates too. But I'll leave it there. I do have a very, very busy week coming up, so I don't know how many speaking tests or writing checks I'll be able to do, but for sure there will be a few more uploads coming soon. If you'd like to get more information about like how you can request speaking checks or speaking tests or writing checks, or if you'd like to take part in the free IELTS lessons that I give, all of that information is available on my Telegram channel. A link to the Telegram channel will be in the description below. But enjoy your weekend, and I will see you all very soon. Bye bye.